Hear me in the World Vibes Radio. Why they my use ya? Not take no talkie. Be careful of some places where you walk. Some no know God, them no read Bible. Then we shoot you down with them rifle. Do not bring no guns, come to town. It's World Vibes, tell them leave that at home. Them better bring love, come to town. It's I say spread the joy around. World Vibes Radio. And not taking this, you know. Let's go and teach your youth them. Play some good music, educate them.
Yo, check this out. This is Anthony Cruz, and you don't know it's the Diaspora Connection featuring Kabbalah for Jamaicans with Joshua. Keep it locked, man. Blaze it hot. Anthony Cruz to that.
Title again. Yeah. Just a message to the youths, you know. We got to find a better way to survive. Things get expensive. If we don't take the soil, how will we stay alive? Increase food prices. I use a better wife, Vikings. After me take a shot in the garrison, I'ma see how the youths them a live. Every man I walk with a shop, so them a hunt for the food, them not think positive. Them claims that the only way to survive is to rob and steal. Instead of you a sit down on a bed for your five now. Come and push out in the field. Remember me did tell them for farm. Them a farm food. After me show them farmer tricks, them run for them banana flip. Then I see them gone for the wrong tool. Hey, Vikings me did tell them for farm. And them a farm food. Hey, me tell them boys stop it till it's silent. Tell me same blood a boil and it can't cool. Hey, you have some big lazy man out the road them. Always a boast for them man. When you see them a tell them a hustler. Me never hear them a hunt for a job. Me grandmother come from market. The whole of them have them eyes for our back. Me never want help to play the card, but all the money from it them want rob. Remember me did tell them for farm. Them a farm food. After me show them farmer tricks, them run for them banana clip. You know see them gone for the wrong tool. Tell you me did tell them for farm. Them a farm food. Yo, me tell the boys stuff it till it's all him tell me same blood a boil and it can't cool. Hey, the only thing you are gonna lose is your spread from you going on the field and a plant up the sheep. What Mr. Babylon a plant for your death from you sit down on street side of I love machine. So tell now, you rather be a nuisance in the scheme. Him left him mother die and she a ball and a bread crime to take people things wanna feel. Hey, remember me did tell them for farm. Them a farm food. Me show them some farmer tricks, them run for them banana flip. They no see them gone for the wrong tool. Tune around me tell them for farm. Them a farm food. Now me tell the boys of it till it's silent. Tell me same blood a boil and it can't cool. Vikings, after me take a shot in the garrison, I'ma see how the youths them a live. Every man I walk with a shop, so them a hunt for the food, them not think positive. Them claims that the only way to survive is to rob and steal. Instead of you a sit down on a bed for your five now. Come and push out in the field. Remember me did tell them for farm. Them a farm food. After me show them farmer tricks, them run for them banana flip. Then I see them gone for the wrong tool. Hey, Vikings me did tell them for farm. And them a farm food. Me tell the boys stop it till it's silent. Tell me same blood a boil and it can't cool. Hey, you have some big layers.
To another episode of Diaspora Connection featuring Kabbalah for Jamaicans. My name is Joshua, and this is episode 157. And you were just listening to Tidal and farming. You know, many of you have heard me mention before that I have a good friend, Mr. Neil Curtis, who is the president and CEO of Farm Up Jamaica. And we're going to have him on shortly to discuss what has been happening very recently with the overwhelming response that he's getting because he had put some things out on Instagram in regarding the $1 billion of food that is being imported into Jamaica. Can you imagine that? Things like onions and other crops in a lush island like Jamaica that we have to import food. It's quite a shame. And here at Diaspora Connection, we are lending this platform to discuss situations like that. And for the last several weeks, we have been having meetings, Zoom meetings, discussing these issues. And I tell you, the response from the diaspora has been quite overwhelming. And because finally they're hearing a viable solution to the problem. And so, very shortly we're going to invite Neil. He's actually on the line right now. But before I bring him in, I just want to let people know that for those of you who have been listening for the first time, what we do here is we teach the wisdom of Kabbalah, which is the ancient Israelite wisdom that Moses received on Mount Sinai. Kabbalah is not a religion. It is spiritual science. In fact, Judaism is the religion that was created based on the science of Kabbalah. Kabbalah teaches you, it literally means to receive, and how to receive the light force of God in a balanced way. Kabbalah teaches that there are only two things that exist: the light force of the Creator and the vessel. And the vessel is desire, right? Desire that must be fulfilled. Sustenance, health, good relationships. The Creator made creation to give pleasure to His created beings. And as a result, He gave the Israelites secrets of how to live a fulfilled life. There are many different religions in the world, and there are many different ways that people have decided to live in this world. And then there is the Bible, that many people think are just stories of do's and don'ts, and how to live, what some would consider a more peaceful and fulfilling life. In the Bible, you can learn many things about how to live, how your character should be, what is known as sin, what is known as evil, negativity. We have things like the Psalms, the Proverbs, and stories about man's relationship with the Creator and creation itself. For those who understand the benefit of these teachings, many of them have incorporated these teachings into their life. Some have received tremendous benefit, and some not so much. In fact, Jamaica is in the Guinness World Book of Records because we have the most churches per square mile than any other country in the world. Yet, we still find ourselves in the top 10 list of crime-ridden countries. How is that possible? Well, It's only because that which has been given, that which has been interpreted as how to live, is not being conveyed in a proper manner. Jamaica is predominantly a Christian state. And again, like I said, we still find ourselves in the top 10 of crime ridden countries. Many times, travel advisories have been issued against tourists traveling to Jamaica because of the violence. The violence runs rampant because people are in despair. There are very little jobs for the youth, very little options, and therefore, what else can they do but turn to crime? To survive. It's a survival thing. And what Farm Up Jamaica is doing is tremendous because it is providing opportunity. Opportunity for young people to get involved with agriculture and to become what is now being coined as agri-entrepreneurs. So I'd like to invite Mr. Neil Curtis, President and CEO of Farm Up Jamaica, so that he can share a lot more about what Farm Up Jamaica is doing and the opportunities that are being presented. Brother Neil, you there?
I am here. I am here.
Welcome to the program, sir.
Well, thank you for having me on the program.
Well, you know,
it is an honor.
Well, quite honestly, it's an honor to have you because, you know, the information that you're about to share with our listeners can be life-changing if they act upon it the right way.
I agree.
You know,
I agree.
We've known each other for many years, and, you know, I've seen the dedication, the personal blood, sweat, and tears that you have put into the organization, and where you have brought it to this day with very limited backing from any kind of government, you know. So, you know, without further ado, you know, let's share with our listeners what is happening, and let's talk about the overwhelming response that we're getting from the diaspora as well as locals in Jamaica about the new programs that you're establishing.
Well, it's again, thank you for having me on your show this evening. And I must say that the Almighty moves in mysterious ways, in many ways that we can't figure, right? Like you said, I've been doing this work because I've been driven by the Spirit of the Almighty to do this work. And no one else has taken up the mantle as it relates to this type of work that we're doing. We're working. I'm not a farmer by trade. That's not what I learned in school. But I was thrown into the ring by a higher power to go and to unite farmers around the island of Jamaica and to get Jamaicans that live abroad to help to power the farmers in their own communities. And, you know, it took a lot of learning. It took a lot of research and development over the last 11 years. We started in 2013 when we realized that farmers needed help. And we realized that they had no real support mechanisms in place. And, you know, sometimes third world countries just don't have enough resources, right, to actually carry out what is necessary to bring you to the next level or to bring you to a first world, right? And in many cases, they don't necessarily, you know, well, I don't want to say they won't want, but the bottom line is you're third world for a reason, right? You're not first world. And that may be because your resources are lacking. Maybe the technology that you're using to do agriculture is not the first world technology. Maybe the training that people are getting is not first world training. But be that as it may, when we got there, we had a lot of things to debunk. One of the first things that we had to debunk was the theft. People were always saying to us, boy, if you go down there and do this type of work, I'm going to steal your crops. You're not going to be able to do it. So we had to figure out a way that we could grow food and that no one would actually steal the crops. That was the biggest complaint. And we started to put together what we call groups. In America, they call them co-ops, where all farmers work together in their own communities and they watch each other's crops,
right,
work on each other's farms, right? And that proved to be successful. And we hadn't lost a crop since the time we've been in Jamaica. From then till 2025 today, we haven't lost crops to predial larceny. But just to say that all of what we have done has gotten us to this point where we are now, where we are now engaging. We are engaging the diaspora. No, man. We are engaging the diaspora to be a part, to now help their own communities where they come from, and to put themselves back on the map. Because nobody else is going to put us on the map. We literally have to get serious about helping ourselves. And just in December, we've gotten this windfall of people just coming out of nowhere. And you've seen it, Lloyd. Just overnight, just having so many people just have interest in this thing that we've been working on for the last 11 years. And again, it's so spiritual, the amount of people that we have coming to us wanting to be a part of Farm Up Jamaica. And I know that the Almighty is in the middle of all of this, because I tell you, I ask him to lead my way. I don't get up and say, I'm going to do this and do that. I say, God, please, you are the Almighty creator of heaven and earth. Mm-hmm. Direct me. You tell me which direction to go. And again, that has led me to this. And sometimes I might sit at home, and even you might wonder what I'm doing, Lloyd. You might say, well, what am I doing? But you do understand, because when the Almighty strikes, boy, nobody can go around that.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a journey. I've seen this unfold before when we were down on the ground in Jamaica doing the initial research and development, mm-hmm. and all things that they told us were going to be difficult. God literally opened the doors to places and people that where we were told would be against us, but they were for us. And it was so, again, transformative in the mindset of understanding that the spiritual is so big when you talk about doing big things, and how the spiritual can take over and lead and guide you. And so, again, we have a meeting that we do now every Thursday. Tomorrow is our meeting. And people, if you're interested in joining the meeting, simply send me a WhatsApp message with your name, and I will add you or send you back a link to the Zoom. Or you can reach out to Lloyd if it's easier for you. But if you want to reach out to me, you can call me at 212-347-0700. Again, you can just message that number. 212-347-0700. Drop us a link and we'll send you back a WhatsApp. I'm not a WhatsApp link, a Zoom link. I'm saying WhatsApp. Zoom link for tomorrow. Zoom. We're having a Zoom at 7 p.m. in the night. So again, drop a WhatsApp to 212-347-0700, and we will send you a Zoom link for tomorrow, 7 o'clock meeting.
Yeah, and I tell you, so we have the meeting every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for now, we've been changing that link every week. So it's not the same exact links, but if you are once you send me your information, I will update everyone with the new link every week, so you don't have to worry.
Yeah. And I tell you, we've got people from the UK who are on the call, and the UK is 5 hours ahead of us, right? So when we have our call till from 7 to like 9 p.m., you talk for about an hour informing people of what's going on, because almost every meeting we have new people. So a lot of times you have to repeat yourself, unfortunately. But we'll continue doing that for the next few weeks until we can normalize it to maybe once a month, maybe, or like have members only meetings. But yeah, the response has been overwhelming.
Absolutely overwhelming, and on something that we didn't expect, unexpected,
Unbelievable, I tell you.
In the human part of us, because we do know that God can do anything.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. You know, and you know, in regards to the notion that young people are not interested in agriculture, what do you say to that?
Well, we've proven, the first thing is there's a lot of misnomers about Jamaica, but no one plugs in the problems that are around those young people, right? So you might look at young people and say, boy, them lazy. That's a big one that we had to debunk. Are they really lazy? So I stood back and I said, well, wait a minute. They go to America and them get 3 and 4 jobs. So that would imply that they're not lazy. They just want to make money.
Yeah,
And
well,
so we have
everybody knows that Jamaicans have 2 and 3 and 4 jobs.
yeah. So if they were lazy, they would be lazy in America. They would be lazy. They would be lazy anywhere they go. And so I realized that it's all about inspiring young people to want to do this work, and inspiring them by encouragement, sweet labor. So that's why we started the Learn and Earn program, where we were paying young people to come and learn the sustainable techniques of this new agriculture that we're doing, which what we call is regenerative climate smart agriculture.
Right.
Now that's something that Jamaica has created. And, we've allowed young people to learn these techniques and to apply these techniques to grow food that is more healthy than regular organic food. And in many cases, even hypoallergenic when it comes to foods that are known to cause allergy.
Such as pineapple.
And now we're going to start testing things like peanuts. So, it's all a process. And we're just following the guiding light. But the answer to your question is, young people want to work. We've trained over 1,000 young people in Jamaica.
1,000?
Over 1,000.
Wow.
Most of them were going to the Heart Trust Academy. They have a documented number of at least 800. And then we've taken other students from even down to basic and primary school, and even some of the other colleges like Taste out in Portland. So everybody has had a taste of Farm Up Jamaica as it relates to understanding that we are doing something very special in Jamaica.
Wow. And hence the overwhelming response, because it looks like the people have finally seen something that is a viable solution. And
well, you know what it is also? They're asking specific questions. And normally when they ask those questions to other organizations, they don't get clear-cut answers. And now they're asking, well, what about perennial larceny? And I have an answer that makes sense. And what about the young kids not want? And we have an answer that makes sense because we've done the research and development to be able to answer the question. Now, if we didn't have this 11 years under our belt, then yes, I think this discussion would be a different discussion, and maybe not as interesting or making people want to join. See it here? No? Yeah. Okay. You can put it here if you want. You understand?
Yeah.
So, I believe that we're doing something special. It's very unique. Like I said, I wasn't called to do agriculture from day one. I was a businessman. I'm doing, real estate and automobile business. And then all of a sudden start to vision this farming and vision, just coming to me, right?
Right.
And then me just deciding to understand that every wonderful idea that has come out of that book called the Bible or the Torah is God normally with vision his people. So when I was the visions of farming and things like these, I started to plug into that and to follow the historical value of those visions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, man. And also, the programs that you're instituting they promote unity.
100%.
Which are very much in alignment with the teachings of Kabbalah, because my listeners have heard me say that the reason why the Israelites and the modern day Jews are so united, or appear to be so united, is because of the wisdom, the faith, right? The common denominator, which is the Creator Himself, and the teachings is what brings them together and binds them together. You don't see Christians as unified as Jews.
I don't think you see much of any other religious sect that unified. I mean, even after they leave the temple, you still have unity, meaning they're supporting each other in business, they're supporting each other in health and different aspects of life. So yeah, you don't see that type of unity among sects.
No, not at all. Not at all. And the purpose of our program, Kabbalah for Jamaicans, is because I've been a student at the Kabbalah Center for the last 16 years, and the teachings has really changed my life, for the better. I mean, my life was good before, but it's tremendous now because I am now aligning my life to the laws of the universe, because basically that is what the wisdom is. It's really just the laws of the universe. And the scriptures tell us, the Creator tells us, look, choose you this day who you shall serve. If you will listen to my commandments and follow my statutes, it will be well with you. But if you don't, it won't be good for you. Right? So it's not that, the Creator is, dangling us by a cord and making us all be puppets. There's a certain amount of truth in that we all have our role to play in this play called life. However, there is something called free will. And the Creator suggested to us, strongly suggested to us, if you follow my ways, you'll be able to live a fulfilled life. Right? Fulfillment in so many ways. Instead of believing in an individual that is going to come and save you from hell and damnation, instead of believing that, Kabbalah teaches us the laws of the universe. And all we have to do is align our lives to that. And we will automatically receive blessings. Automatically. So, like adhering to certain dietary laws, not from a religious standpoint, but from a metaphysical standpoint, right? Because them say our belly is our first brain or second brain, right? So what we eat matters. What we eat matters. So if we're going to consume that which the Creator says that we should not consume, let me repeat that. If we're going to consume that which the scriptures tell us we should not consume, we're going to run into problems. Energetically. Not because God said. Because everything God said, there's a purpose behind it. And it behooves us to understand the why. And that's what Kabbalah does. It teaches you how to ask the question, why? Why is that so? You may not receive the answer then and there, but you should be of an inquisitive mindset. And another thing I've been sharing with my listeners is that, you see, this teaching is really magical in the sense that there are certain tools that we've been given and have been suggested to use. And one such tool is the Torah, which is the 5 books of Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Right? That's the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. However, the entire Old Testament, from Genesis to Malachi, right? Hints towards a proper way of living. Hints towards how to obtain the promises of God. Hints towards how to receive protection from his angels. Hints to longevity. Hints towards abundance. Hints towards health. Right? And again, those who have an ear to hear, let them hear. They gave up Jesus to be killed because he was trying to get them to see things differently. But they were so wrapped up into their old ways and into the ways of the nation that had them, or in which they lived, that they didn't want anything else. They were very short-sighted. Their freedom didn't mean much to them because they were living a good life, or what they considered to be a good life. So, but yeah, back to the tools. One such tool that the Creator recommends that we use is the reading of the Torah. So every Saturday, every Shabbat, the Israelite goes into temple or listens online to the reading of the Torah in Hebrew. There's usually a 25 to 30 minute lecture before the writings. And we use that as a tool. And by listening, even if you don't understand Hebrew, just by listening, the vibratory action of the Hebrew words against your eardrum causes a transformation in your body at the DNA level. Causes a transformational shift in your body. And by shifting and by aligning your life to the laws of the universe, you will automatically begin to receive abundance, because the universe, the energy of the universe is programmed that once the vessel is created, it must fill it. It must fill it. So, this week's portion is Vaera, which is Genesis chapter 6 through 9. And this is where Moses, after having fled Egypt, found himself in the land of Midian. Fell in love with the daughter of the Midianite high priest, Jethro, decided to settle in Midian, and at one point is led to Mount Sinai because a sheep got away. And received the revelation of who the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was. And was told that he was chosen to be the Redeemer, to rescue the Israelites out of bondage. Yeah? So in this portion, Exodus chapter 6 through 9, is the famous portion that where Moses meets God in the form of the burning bush. He meets an angel of God, not God himself, the angel in the form of the burning bush. And the Creator reveals himself as I am that I am. So this coming Saturday, we'll be reading that portion. Now, the reading of the Torah is not a tradition. For some, it might be, but for the Kabbalists, it is not. We're receiving a vaccine. We're receiving the ability to change our DNA at the cell level. And it is highly recommended that if you want to see changes in your life, if you want additional protection in your life, if you want more discipline in your life, it's highly recommended that you start aligning your life to the laws of the universe and start taking advantage of these tools. Because trust me, my friend, and believe me when I tell you this, they work. They work. And, I'm going to play a lecture from Rav Berg, who was a spiritual director of the Kabbalah Center. And he and his wife Karen responsible for the dissemination of the Zohar throughout the world. Now, the Zohar is the principal text of Kabbalah. It's a supplement to the Torah and is used to unlock the secrets of the Torah. It is used so that we can become more than giants. All right? So, any questions or any comments you'd like to make before we play this lecture, Neil?
I would say that I think everything that you said and was very, very well articulated. And there's no questions left to be asked because you just broke down what the Zohar is. And a lot of people may not know what the Zohar is, and you just kind of made it understandable.
And the one thing I left out was that people can see the Zohar online for free. It's at www.zohar.com. Right, and it was created and put online by the Kabbalah Center. And there are many things that a person can look at their website, which is www.kabbalah, which is KABBALAH.com, Kabbalah.com. And then there's Zohar.com. So remember, the Zohar is supplement. So on Tuesday nights, like last night, we have Sunday night and Tuesday nights, we have a 30-minute um, reading, Zohar reading dedicated to Jamaica. So we have some Jamaicans in Jamaica that dial in or connect to the Zoom link, and sometimes they listen, sometimes they read. A lot of them are here in the States. And, for those Jamaicans, and some of them are listening, um, I'm going to invite them on the program and ask them to share their experience with the Zohar. And again, the Zohar is its supplement to the Torah. It is commentaries, conversations between rabbis, a handful of rabbis, the main one being Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who is in modern times known as Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon to the Israelite is like what Jesus is to the Christian. However, the Israelite knows that Rabbi Shimon is not God. Okay? The Kabbalists know that Rabbi Shimon is not God. Different from how Christians hold Yeshua. They believe Yeshua is God in the secret of the Trinity.
And when you say Yeshua, you mean what the
Jesus.
Christians call Jesus?
Jesus' rightful name. Yeah. Because, so a lot of Christians don't know that Jesus was a Jew.
So that's why I say, if you're really following the footsteps of Jesus, then you would probably be or transformed to Jew.
You would be following that which the Jew follows.
That's correct.
Right? But
if you're really following the footsteps of Jesus, then that would mean that you are a Jew, or you're trying to be like a Jew.
Yeah, following the Jewish way.
That is correct, because although Jesus may have had some new aged ideas about Judaism, it was still Judaism.
I like how you said that. Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And all of his disciples were also that.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
So, look, when mankind is ready to take you down a different rabbit hole, or have you take a different direction, they'll make it sound how they want it to sound.
That's right.
It's very simple.
Yeah. So, since Rav Berg is a master at conveying knowledge, right? A master at conveying knowledge. Without further ado, I'm going to play this lecture. And again, our number here in the studio is country code +1 516 965 5700. You can WhatsApp me. Let me know that you're listening. Let me know that you would like to get a free copy of the Zohar, and that you would like to receive the Zoom link so that you can connect to the Shabbat on Saturday and our further programs. Yes? So, without further ado, here is Rob Berg. Neil, thank you so much for being on the program. I appreciate you. And we invite you. Oh, one other thing I want to let our listeners know. For those of you listening on World Vibes, we're actually actively working on creating a Farm Up Jamaica segment. An hour-long segment where Farm Up Jamaica will speak, you'll be able to know everything about farming, about the model that we're creating, all of those things. Again, the number here in the studio is 516, country code +1, 516 965 5700. Yeah. So, Brother Neil, I hope you'll join us in future programs because, again, the information that you're providing is valuable.
Listen, I will join you continually.
All right.
Don't worry about there. Sometimes, I have 2 young children.
Yeah.
And it takes up some of my free time, and especially when they're in the background making too much noise. So, but I will definitely make it my duty to try my best to be on as many programs as I can.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And we'll talk again soon.
All right.
Bless.
Vaera. And begins by stating Vaera el Abraham el Yitzchak. I appeared before, or to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov, Bekel Shaddai. That's one form of, or as we understand in Kabbalah, it's one level of the revelation of the light force of God. But Ushmi Hashem, of the Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, the Tetragrammaton, Lo Nadati Lahem. I was not known to them. Of course, we also understand that Lo Nodati is not referring to that they didn't know that there was a Eitz HaChaim, or there was no level of Tetragrammaton. So obviously, when we have the idea of knowing, we know that it refers to the connection. Connection. In other words, a connection that existed between Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov was on another level, a lower level. And on this, the Zohar begins with a very interesting comment. Vadaber Elokim el Moshe, Rabba Patach, Bitchu Vashem Adei Ad, Ki Beka Hashem Tzur Olamim. This is a verse in Isaiah that says that one should have bitachon, or faith, adayad, until, as we usually translate it in a literal sense, forever. Because with the Yud-Kei of the Tetragrammaton, Tzur Olamim, this is the way the world was established. Explains the Zohar, and we'll shortly understand what the relationship between this verse in Isaiah and the verse in the opening of this week's Parsha, how they relate one to another. Perusho kol bnei ha'olam tzrichim litchazek b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'liot bitchonim. The whole world has to strengthen themselves in God and be certain with Him. What does that mean? The whole world should believe in Him. How do you believe in something you've never seen? How do you understand that that there is an existence of a upper being, of an all-powerful being, an all-embracing being? When certainly in our daily lives we do not experience that kind of force, that kind of unifying force that we would like to relate to God, and it just tells us this is what we have to do. So the Zohar continues, wouldn't it have been sufficient to say, have faith in God? It says adayad, until forever. Umeshiv, and the Zohar answers, Alatzarach sheyeh tokfo shel adam b'makom shehu kiyum v'kesher shel hakol. We have to get rid of it. Yeah.
For the seed, the apple, it needs nutrients from the soil.
That certainty, that strength, will have a connection, a permanent connection of all. V'hu nikra ad, says Rabbi Ashlag, we're referring to Vaera. In other words, when a person is to achieve, and it appears that's the purpose, as if, well, one day we'll have complete and true faith in God, and this is what we strive for, and one must strengthen his belief in that. Of course, those are empty terms. It's like telling someone, stop smoking. Does everybody stop smoking? There's a sign up there that says smoking may be hazardous to your life. You see everybody reading the sign, and there it says it's according to the Surgeon General, meaning it's even been tested and so on. What happens? Everybody stops smoking. That's not the case. The sign hasn't influenced anybody. Those who even have stopped have done it on their own accord, not because the Surgeon General has established that it could be injurious. People feel there's a possibility, maybe, and why take the chances? But it is not because the Surgeon General said, now look, everyone, you've got to stop smoking because it's hazardous to your health, to your health. That doesn't convince anybody. What the Zohar says, to make this connection to certainty, we have to understand that there is a place known as Vaera, that one should eat ad. In other words, it doesn't mean ad until, or a place where that's where you can go until there. Says the Zohar, Va'ad hazeh hu makom hamiyached l'tzad zeh u'l'tzad zeh. So the Zohar, and Rabbi Ashlag then goes out to explain, so I'll read what Rabbi Ashlag says and then explain it. B'hainu shukav hamsa'i. To understand, it is not a precept, believe in God. Believe in God. But rather, to understand, says the Zohar, that there is a unifying force in this universe, which is the central column, which we understand to mean restriction. Hamiyached sad yamin v'tzad shmol, zeh b'zeh, litkayem u'lihitkasher. V'hainu sheyitkayem shnei hakavim, v'tiksham naharatam zeh b'zeh, kesher b'alimot. What the Zohar is trying to teach us as to how we can arrive at certainty is not just by believing in God, and God will take care of everything, and God will take care of all of our necessities, all of our needs, and consequently we have no longer any fear. And we know that it's not true. It's not true. Just look at the history of the Jew, and you find that those who had complete faith in God, nevertheless did not avoid the disasters that have befallen the Jews for the past 2,000 years. Says the Zohar that we must understand that within ourselves, there are two parts. We have a right column and we have a left column. And as I've always said, we're all schizophrenic. We have two parts, two aspects to ourselves, two aspects that one is in direct conflict with the other. So, should I do this? Should I do that? Why do we have the doubts? Well, a thinking man has doubts. Not true. Not true. Even if you're not a thinking man, don't worry. There are two forces within yourself. One tells you, go ahead with it, and the other one tells you not to go ahead with it if you never thought twice about the subject. This is a robotic consciousness that has been included at the time of our birth. Whether to follow this direction or that direction. And therefore, the uncertainty or the request from Isaiah that we believe in God is not that, well, what is God? God, according to the Zohar, is Zeir Anpin. What is Zeir Anpin? It is the place where everything is embraced in one unified whole. That's God. Therefore, says the Zohar, just to believe in that concept, or believe I want to become attached to that concept, cannot and does not exist and cannot exist, provided we ourselves are recognized that within ourselves there are these two conflicting forces, and so to connect with God, you have to have a similitude with God. You have to have an affinity with God. How do you have an affinity with God? Even if I want to have that affinity with God, as long as there is conflict within myself, and I am not unified within myself. What does that mean, unified? The two parts of me. The part that says yes, the part that says no. If I have not been able to combine these two, then I haven't connected to God. Where is God? Somewhere out there. No, God is right here. We write in Kabbalah that every person is a part of God. Every person has God within himself. What does that mean? That if we succeed in bringing together, and to bring together these two columns, these two aspects that conflict with each other within myself, then, and how do you do that? Through the central column. This is the force that synthesizes these two opposing forces within ourselves. Once we have established a unity between these two different forces, then, says the Zohar, then the forces, the light force that is within the positive and the negative in me, because why do I think positive or why do I think negative? When I say negative or positive, I'm only saying, do I think I should proceed or do I think I should not proceed? When I say I should not proceed, meaning that's a negative force. It's not a bad force. On the contrary, it's advising me that this would not be the right course. Do not follow that course. Is that negative? No, that's not negative. It's merely stating another revelation of the light force of God, which says, and who is speaking? The light force of God is speaking, saying, no, this would not be advantageous if you followed that course. So it has nothing to do with some God out there. It has to do with the forces that channel God. Like we've always explained in the bulb. You have a right pole and you have a left pole. What stimulates? What arouses? What motivates the left and the right and the left pole, or the positive or negative pole in the bulb? Electricity. Electricity is channeled, whether it be right or left, positive or negative. The force remains the same. Electricity. So too is the light force of God. It is channeled through a positive pole, through a negative pole, through our positivity, through our negativity. Negativity not meaning that it's bad. On the contrary. I haven't had any food on the table, so I think, well, maybe I've got to go out and steal. Along comes a voice in myself and says, no, stealing is not something that's moral. Then I'm told not to steal. That's negative. That's negative. No. That's negative. Positive is an affirmative decision. Yes, go ahead and do that. Whatever it might be, that's positive. So either one represents the light force. The difference is how this light force is expressed. So the light force within us is there. It's present. But unfortunately, says the Zohar, the only method that we have, that we can join and bring together these two opposing views, and therefore we have uncertainty, is because there are two opposing views. However, if these two views can be brought together as one unified whole, then you have certainty. So it is not a question of Bizchuv Hashem, believe in God. So we're told, you have to have faith. What is that? It's empty words. Have faith. Faith in what? In God. Well, where is God? How do you have faith? Do you think God required that we have faith in Him when we have no rational, at least the rational mind has no conception of what that represents? And therefore says the Zohar, it's true. We are not required to believe in God. We are not required to do anything. However, all it is stating is, there's an axiom. God is an all-embracing whole. That's the force of God. That force is within you, not out there, here. Well, there is such a force? Yes. Because from your experience, you're always torn between two sides. When you join those two opposing forces, you express God. You express the light of God. What does it mean you express the light of God? Positive is expressing the light of God, and negative expressing the light of God. However, when these two forces remain fragmented, separated, meaning each one dominates at specific times, each one prevents the expression of the other, meaning that's when we're uncertain, to create the certainty, because that's what is meant by God. Adei ad. And then you have this eventuality, you have this certainty. How? And that is how we make our connection to God, is when we bring together these two opposing forces. So, when it says here, Vaera el Avram el Yitzchak el Yaakov bekel Shaddai, says the Zohar, that when he was saying, Hashem lo nadati lahem, Sha'olam mitkayem b'shmo hakadosh. How does the world maintain stability? Of course, we have never practically seen any stability in the world. But there are times that individually we feel fairly content. There are times when, although I guess it's rare, and I'm trying to remember when throughout the world there was a sense of tranquility. Not since the destruction of the temple. Even today, I don't recall where I read it, but there are 36 conflicts always going on in the world. All the time. Small ones, big ones. 36. Number significant. Meaning that the world is not in harmony. Because if it was, then this kind of atmosphere of conflict could not exist. Why doesn't it exist? How can we bring the world into a structure of balance, into a structure of tranquility? Says the Zohar, only through tetragrammaton. Kisbi ka havaya tzur olamim. Perusho, sayer olamim. Ki b'shtei otiot nivru ha'olamim. With these two letters, the Yud and the K, the whole world was created. Olam hazeh v'olam haba. Olam haba is what? The unseen world. Olam hazeh is the familiar world that we see around us. When these two are brought together, the Yud K is brought together, because the Yud K, as it's explained in Zohar and in the Ari, well, these two letters are in constant unity. The Vav and the K is the problem of the Tetragrammaton. What he is saying, Ushmi Hashem lo nadati lahem, does it mean that Abraham was not on the level of understanding the Tetragrammaton? He was a chariot. He had a connection to the world of Etz HaChaim. However, until Moshe came along, this idea was not expressed in the world. Yes, Abraham was fully familiar as to the existence of a Tetragrammaton. Abraham knew how to connect to the Tetragrammaton. However, the familiar world as we see it, did not experience the Yud K Vav K. So, when the verse begins up by saying, you see, I appeared to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Bekel Shaddai. But the name of the Tetragrammaton was not known. If you look throughout Genesis, do you ever see the word or the name of God in the form of Tetragrammaton mentioned? All the time. Always mentioned. It says God spoke to Abraham, or God spoke to Isaac. Right here, we'll take one place here in Toldot. In chapter 26, verse 2. Vaera elav Hashem. And there was a famine in the land of Canaan. And God says, do not go down to Egypt where there was food. Vaera elav Hashem. Vaera, the same expression as it says here. Vaera. And there it says specifically, who appeared to Isaac through the form of the level of the revelation of the consciousness of God in the form of the Tetragrammaton. So what does it mean? Ve'era elav bekel Shaddai ushmi Hashem lo nadati. And the name of the Tetragrammaton was not known to them. Says the Zohar, it was not established in the world. It was not established in the world. What does it mean? It means that there were three individuals, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. But the people, the world at large, had no idea. Consequently, the fact that Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov all were familiar with this level of God's consciousness, that level was not known, was not established, because these three people, by and within themselves, could not establish the force of unity in the world. It would have to wait until Mount Sinai. It would have to wait until the Jews themselves became familiar with the methodology by which they would connect with God. Other than that, it is not known. It is not known to us. How many people believe that God exists? They may say they believe in God, but what does that mean? We've always said the fact that they do not use the expression, I know God. Say, I believe in God. The fact that you say, I believe, you're already expressing a doubt whether there is God or there isn't God. When you say, I believe, there is uncertainty. I know expresses the form of certainty. So therefore, says the Zohar, when it says that the name of the Tetragrammaton was not known to them, meaning they, by virtue of themselves, could not establish that presence. And so, how would we know if God is present? How does anyone know if God is present? When a miracle happens, what does that mean? It means the normal, familiar world, in the way it's expressed, was not expressed at that moment. And we say there occurred a miracle. What we're in effect saying, the idea of unity, the idea of certainty, the idea of harmony, when a miracle occurs, meaning chaos did not occur. That's what we refer to when we say a miracle appeared. We're not referring to, again, a supernatural event, because a volcano is not a normal event. An earthquake is not a normal event. Is that called a miracle? So, in our vernacular, miracle we prefer is to refer to a miracle as a supernatural event. But that would not be a correct definition. What we're in essence saying when a miracle does occur in our lives, there was no chaos. But an earthquake, that's a miracle. It's a supernatural event. Man cannot duplicate a miracle. Consequently, an earthquake should be considered as a miracle as well. And the answer is no. An earthquake is not a miracle, but it is a supernatural event. Therefore, the idea of miracle, as understood by the Torah, is the definition of nes, which is a concealment. Nes is constituted of two letters, the nun and the samach. The nun is 50, the samach is 60. That is 110. 110. Says the Zohar, nes means when you combine the level of Zeir Anpin, which you know in the Tetragrammaton is 45, and Adne, which is the familiar world that we exist, which Aleph Daled Nun Yud adds up to 65. 65 and 45 is 110. So Nes is a concealment. There is no definition, or there is no word Nes. I once explained them. Well, maybe not here. The word Nes in Hebrew comes from what word? Vayinasu, to run. It has no association with a concept called miracle. In fact, it's a corruption. Nes means running. Now, how do you associate a miracle with running? The answer is, beside its concealment, that at the time that a miracle occurs, we're referring to this familiar world of chaos has leaped, or ran away to where? To the world of Etz HaChaim. It has left the familiar world of chaos, of Adne, and now has become joined, connected, unified with the 45. 45 meaning the way the Tetragrammaton is spelled out in Zeir Anpin, if you're familiar with that. I hope you are. Therefore, the idea of miracle for us establishes the idea that at that moment, Adne, which is the familiar world of chaos, the world of Etz Hadat, the world of chaos, that world has taken a quantum leap into the world of Zeir Anpin. It's fled from this familiar world, and therefore, this world has lifted itself into the level of Etz HaChaim, where the world of Etz HaChaim is one of certainty, one of tranquility, one of harmony. That presence can only take place when, says the Zohar, the whole world that the entire world recognizes and connects and has a consciousness that there is such a world, which is referred to as harmony, peace and tranquility, the absence of chaos. Therefore, we associate good fortune to a miracle, where the world normally is full of chaos, and suddenly, out of this chaos came what? Harmony. The absence of chaos. In other words, someone driving in a car, and it was inevitable that chaos was impending. There was a car coming in the same lane, and suddenly, by virtue of what we refer to as some miracle, that chaos did not take place. A miracle took place. Meaning, the world of chaos did not reign at that moment. The world of harmony, the world of peace, the world of certainty. And so, this parsha begins with the expression of Vaera as a tetragrammaton, that the world should experience this kind of tranquility, this kind of certainty, can only take place when, although if you're Jewish you forget, but when miracles happen in our lives. Someone scans the Zohar, and a miracle happened. Unfortunately, we forget. But what does it mean, a miracle happened? In other words, where we had observed some form of chaos, this chaos, which was inevitable, someone, God forbid, had cancer, and it disappears. We've had hundreds of cases like that. No explanation. The explanation could have been that it would have disappeared without the reading of the Zohar. That's a possibility, and we cannot deny that, nor do we deny that. But what a miracle to us generally means is the what? The absence of chaos, or the conversion of our familiar world of chaos into another behavior, meaning control over this familiar world of chaos. This is what Yud Kei Vav Kei means, and therefore the Torah begins with this preface, because, well, why did we need this introduction? After all, what are we really concerned about? We're concerned about what God says. We're going to take the Jews out of Egypt. That would be a miracle. We're going to take the Jews out of Egypt. Then what's the difference whether how he appeared to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and how he's now going to appear to Moshe? Of what concern is that, when in essence all we are concerned with is when are the Jews going to leave and establish their freedom, achieve their freedom in the world? And therefore we learn from the Torah, that I will shortly quote the Zohar, goes and tells Moshe and Aaron what? Go create a miracle. What's a miracle? In other words, transform the natural order of this world as we know it. Transform it. In other words, take a stick, throw it before Pharaoh, and the stick becomes a snake. That is called a miracle. Now, why is that defined as a miracle? What is our definition of miracle? When we take an aspect of this familiar universe, which to us always represents and has always represented chaos. Remember, as long as you live in this familiar world, there is only one thing you can ever expect. Only one. Chaos in your life. That's what this world means. Chaos. When miracles occur and you seem to flee from this chaos, then it happens once in a while. But that is what is meant by miracle. The natural law and order of chaos. Because there is order to chaos. There is no such thing as randomness. That's even been established by science. The world of randomness, it happened out of nowhere. There is no such concept as randomness, even when chaos takes place. Just as when we do not plan and something great takes place in something of tranquility, of order takes place in our life, we say that might be a miracle. Where the norm is chaos. Chaos meaning randomness? No. That also follows a very particular pattern. If someone is struggling, business, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, there's chaos. Things are happening, can't explain them, etc. Understand that chaos is not randomness. It's not the opposite of order. That is not what's meant by chaos. That there is no order. There is law and order in chaos. When something occurs in the form of chaos, it is primarily and directly connected with and associated with man's action. If he had performed, or if he had entertained, or become involved with some negative activity, the law of cause and effect exists. What is the result of our negativity? Stealing, murdering, etc. The effect of which is chaos. But not that chaos is something which is not confined to the law and order of cause and effect. Chaos belongs to that same principle as the law of Zeir-Anpin or the law of Etz HaChaim. That other world that we aspire to achieve some semblance of order in our lives. I use that word, but that's not correct, because there is law and order in chaos. It's something we would prefer to do without, but that does not imply that when chaos does take place, it's a form of randomness. It's without planning. It comes out of nowhere. There is no such thing. That is the world of Aleph, Daled, Nun, Yud. The world of Adnei. The world of Malchut, the familiar world that for us always means chaos. But then again, who says that our familiar world must comprise itself of chaos? If this world can become connected with the same law and order of the Tetragrammaton, then the Tetragrammaton, which is the cause of Adnei, if you know the way the evolution of the Tetragrammaton evolved, Yud K Vav K. Therefore, you jump back, you remove yourself from this world of chaos, meaning that when I steal, chas v'shalom, then there must, of necessity, be and will occur the laws that refer to cause and effect. There will be a negative effect. That's law and order. Absolute order. However, if at any given time, prior incarnation, present incarnation, I become involved in some form of negative activity, and now I want to avoid the effect. So we are being told in this parsha, you can convert this world of law and order. You can break into its procedure. You can disrupt the procedure of this world. and turn it around, or what we refer to as a miracle. You can. And therefore, all of a sudden out of nowhere, and it doesn't seem to follow the sequence, and Moses and God tells, and Moshe and Aaron come to Pharaoh, Vayashlach Aaron et Mateo, because God already had told him that when you come to Pharaoh, take your stick, throw it before Pharaoh, V'shlich l'fnei Paro, this is in chapter 7, verse 9, Yilitanim, and the stick will turn into being a snake. That is not the natural process of this world. A stick does not relate to a snake. A stick has no connection to a snake. That means we're disrupting the world of law and order, aren't we? And the answer is no. It seemed as if, because we've just according to the Zohar, that this world of Adnai is being brought together with the world of the Tetragrammaton or the Eitz HaChaim. Well, how does a stick become a stick? Is it inanimate? Whatever that means. Turns into a snake. Into a living creature. Into a snake. I will read the Zohar on this particular subject. But the idea that a snake and a stick are two separate and distinct entities, again, evolves only from our consciousness of the familiar world of Eitz Hadat. It's like, I think, maybe not here, but Kabbalists have known that when they had a cup of tea in front of them, and they wanted to have it sweet, how sweet they weren't sure, what they would do was not take a little piece of the sugar and put it in, and you try it. Well, no, not sweet enough. Normally what we would do is then, add another, we in fact say in advance, give me two teaspoons of sugar, right? Then I know it's the right dimension of the sweetness that I'd like to have in my tea. But what they would do is take the cube, look at it, drink it, not sweet enough, let me take another dose, and drink, and they had sweet to the level that they were looking for. But we don't understand something like that, because the eye and our taste buds are two separate and distinct instincts. Right? We have five instincts. That is only because we are the world of Eitz Hadat, this world of Adnai, Aleph Daled Nun Yud, has an appearance as being fragmented. Has an appearance of being fragmented. However, within this domain, the world that we call chaos, which is incorrect, because chaos for us means something I'm not happy with, something I would prefer to do without. So that's called chaos. But that is not chaos, meaning things are happening in a random nature. No, everything is structured. Whatever is taking place is destined to take place. The same way as when we plant a seed. If it's an apple seed, ultimately we will find an apple tree. We'll have an apple at the end. Because in every aspect there is law and order. There is law and order, even in this world. But this familiar world doesn't seem to contain any form of law and order. It is only because in this world there is another dimension called fragmentation. which presents an illusion as if things are separated one from another. The snake and the stick that we consider to be two separate entities, two separate beings, a stick and a snake. The idea of a snake being separate from a stick is what we refer to the illusionary force that has also been added, another ingredient that has been added to this world. Not that this world is without law and order, but when we suddenly see things happen that is not to our liking, it is because at that moment things are fragmented. The idea that things are not in unity, that things are not unified. There can be a stick and there can be a snake. So when the Torah begins this week's Parsha of Vaera, and we said, what is Vaera? What do I have to know about what happened with Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, and how with Moshe it's going to be different? What's all this preface about? And so we studied the Zohar, and the Zohar explained what that meant. It was combining the two worlds, which both have law and order, but removing what? One ingredient. Removing the ingredient of what we refer to as illusion, separation. We should all be, if we all like sugar in our coffee, we should all be able to look at the coffee. You don't have to worry about gaining weight, etc., whatever sugar means. We should be able to look at that, chew, and enjoy a sweet cup of coffee or a sweet cup of tea. But we do not have that ability, so we think. We exist here for the first time, the Torah. Here for the first time, we have a miracle. But that's not what's meant by miracle. Miracle now we can define, before we define it in terms of taking this level, this familiar world as we know it, combining it with the world of Eitz HaChaim. What does that mean, combining with it? Meaning, transforming this world of separation, this world that has a curtain that is called illusion. A curtain. You know, it's like if I flip a coin, heads or tails. Heads or tails. I don't know. If I remove the hand, I know if it was heads or tails. Now what happens? Is it already known whether there's heads or tails? But I'm uncertain whether it's head or tails. Is that right? Because I am uncertain. Does that create uncertainty? It's not known whether it's head or tail? Of course it is. It's known. Nothing's going to change in the way this coin lies on my hand. What I've done is remove the curtain. Then what was there to begin with, which I consider to have been in an uncertainty stage, all of a sudden, oh, now I know it's either heads or it's tails. But the head or tail did not appear when the hand was removed. The head, let's say the coin was heads, it was head. Whether I had my hand conceal that quarter or it didn't conceal the quarter. Then what was the objective? How can I remove what? The veil. This creates illusion. This hand creates illusion. As if, I'm not sure. I don't know. But it's already known. So the objective is to remove this illusion. Can that be done? Yes. The illusion that only my taste buds can understand if this tea is sweet or not, and that my eye cannot, because that's the five senses. We've been told since we're little children there are five senses. That's incorrect. Each sense is combined of all the others. Every sense should be able to detect what every other sense detects. Different levels maybe of understanding. So here for the first time, When this miracle occurred, and he took the stick, and it became a snake, what was the significance? Wow! We've never seen a stick turn into a snake. That's a miracle. No, not a miracle. Because we have been, successfully, we have been programmed into understanding that a snake and a stick are two separate entities. Whereas in reality, they are the same. One day, this curtain will be taken away. When this curtain will be taken away, what was always there will now make its appearance. The unity of things will appear. The unity, which is the Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, which is what we refer to as the world of Etz HaChaim, will make its appearance. You mean suddenly a miracle occurred, and now the wonderful world of tranquility, the wonderful world of law and order appeared? No, it was there all the time. But there's something that is preventing ourselves. That force. What is that force? This hand that I said covers the quarter. It separates my vision from the reality of the quarter. That's all that is involved. The heads of the quarter is known. I can see is known, except there's something there that prevents a curtain. So when we address a miracle, when we address the idea of combining the two worlds, the world that appears to be full of chaos, the world that appears to create pain and suffering, is there as long as that I permit that curtain to remain. But this week's parasha is teaching us not only motion. Miracles have happened in our lives. Supernatural things have occurred in our lives. If someone recovers by virtue of a miracle, how do we interpret that idea? So someone recovered by virtue of a miracle. Now, on the contrary, he had been, the health had been there, only waiting for it to have the curtain be removed. And there it was. Yes, he's well. He was well even while he wasn't well. He was well even while he wasn't well. This can begin, I don't want to dwell on it, can begin for us to understand the idea that when science says what you observe is what exists. If you observe this chair, if I feel, the five senses tell me I'm sitting on a chair, it is therefore the chair's existence. If I remove myself from the chair and I do not see the chair does not exist. How could that be? And then if I turn around, I see the chair does exist. How could within moments or seconds the chair turn from being a non-chair to becoming a chair? How can that idea be understood? Very simple. Very simple. Because the fact that I'm sitting on a chair, or who says I'm sitting on a chair? But we must break through that barrier. I say it's supported by science, but if we can break through that barrier, then you have this world under control. You have this curtain that separates your fulfillment. You know what satisfies you. I mean, if someone has a family, he's got to put bread on the table and he doesn't have a job, then it's quite obvious. You have to pay money to buy food. He needs money to buy food. He doesn't have that money. That need is obvious. But as we have always said in this class, the money is there. Why doesn't he pick it up? Why doesn't he pick up the money, go into the store and buy it? But what does he say? What does he say? There's no money. And what do we say? There is no money, or there is money, except there's a curtain that he can't see the money. Oh, wait a second. What do you mean? If there was money, we would see it. Don't you understand? You don't see the quarter. Is the quarter there? There's a curtain that says you don't know if it's heads or tails. Such an elemental factor as saying, I don't know whether it's heads or tails, because something conceals it. The same way as the fact that we need a chair to sit on. The chair is there because I wanted the chair to sit on. Well, then, why does someone have to bring me this? Because I have been trained to understand that if you don't have this, you can't sit. Is that true? Have you ever seen people without a chair sitting? No? Never seen people sitting without a chair? Show me how you can sit without a chair. What? But is there anyone here? Well, your legs are not that strong. You ever seen someone sit down without a chair? Sitting in midair? No. Bending your knees and you're sitting, no? Isn't that called sitting? You want me to demonstrate how that's done? But you all understand what I'm saying? But we can sit without a chair. Yeah, but how long can you sit without a chair? Well, go to the gym and you'll see you work out, your feet are strong and so on. You may even be able to sit longer than someone can sit on a chair. Some people must get up from the chair, right? Sitting too long. Did you ever hear that expression? Sitting too long? What do you mean you're sitting too long? No, I must stand up. I can't sit this long. What's called sitting? What does the chair contribute? Sometimes someone could be sitting without the chair and be comfortable with it. Someone could be sitting on a chair and be uncomfortable with it. This is called the realm of illusion. Whatever you and however you have programmed your mind is the way your life will be established. If you decide, have a court case, and we're assuming that morally and ethically you're in the right, the case has already been decided in your favor or not. If morally and ethically you're correct, then we're not going to wait for the decision tomorrow. We don't have to wait for it. It's like waiting until I remove this hand to see if it's right. There is law and order in every aspect of this universe. I hope I'll never make it happen. I know, because morally and ethically, and anybody who comes to me and tells me he's going to have a court case, I says, I can never help you. I can never help you in deciding. I don't want you to misunderstand me, because we can't decide. Can't decide. Can't decide what goes on in some court in Chicago. I know that. I say I know, not that I think. But all of us can decide what's going to take place wherever that court case is. Well, how can you? All that is necessary. And I'm talking from my own experience about a very important court case that's been going on for 5 months. It's one of the largest court cases that have ever taken place in the United States. And I'm deciding it. What do you mean I'm deciding? Well, first I investigated the moral and ethics of that court case to the best of my ability. If morally this person is in the right, there is law and order in this universe. So we're not creating something that's going to change the law and order. We cannot change law and order. Law and order, when you say, it worked out in my favor, no judge decided in your, well, how will the judge decide? He has no choice in how he's going to decide. It's like the quarter. Don't you understand? It's all been established already. The question is, if you are morally correct, then the decision must be in your, it's already been, not it will be decided in your favor, it has already been decided in your favor. But, that's provided you're aware that it's been decided. But if your consciousness is, well, I don't know if it's heads or tails, and you don't add that extra mile of consciousness. When you say, I don't know if it's heads or tails, and you do not add, but I know it's already known whether it's heads or tails. You mean, because of my fragmentation, because of my separation, because of this veil that can overwhelm my consciousness, my consciousness of separation. Because am I separated from that quarter? How far am I from the quarter right now? How far am I? Can I remove this at will? Yeah. So I have control. If I have decided, and this is what Aaron did, that the stick, does it contain a snake? Of course. There's unity. What does it mean the stick contains a snake? And the snake contains a stick. The reason we have ideas of snake and stick is because our own consciousness is fragmented into different parts. But if we understand everything is unified, the only thing that exists in this world is cause and effect, and even that is unified. Cause and effect is unified. It doesn't mean this follows that, or that cause is separated from the... is the apple separated from the seed? Is the apple separated from the seed? Some of us will say yes. Here's the seed, and there's the apple. Is that correct? This is if we can establish this, then we'll understand clearly, rather than just read a wonderful story about a miracle that only, of course, probably Moses could have achieved. Is taking, or Aaron, taking a stick, thrusting it down to the floor, and there appeared a snake. This seed, within that seed, is there an apple? Yes? Some of you think maybe not. Then I'd have to ask you, where did the apple come from? So we've already learned in Kabbalah. But what we haven't done yet, maybe in Kabbalah for some of us, is we only understand intellectually, that the apple already is included in the seed, and not where did it come from. So we learned that part in Kabbalah. But now in your actual life, do you understand the unity? Do you feel the unity? Is that part of your consciousness that the apple is not separated from the seed? But wait a second. The seed we planted 20 years ago. And now for the first time, the apple makes its appearance. Now, what is this world all about? To give us an opportunity to see things as separate and distinct one from each other. But at the same time, as we learned Vaera, what happened Vaera? He saw. What did he see? He saw, or again, brought together what appeared to be fragmentation. The curtains that appear to separate things in this world. Wait a second. They're not separated. That fragmentation exists only in my own consciousness. If that does not exist in my consciousness, then the seed and the apple are one. The chair can change from moment to moment. Why? If I say the chair is not there, it's because I placed the curtain. When the chair is there and I live in that consciousness, now the chair is there, now the chair is not there. Now I have money and now I went bankrupt. It is the same idea. It is the same idea. There is no such thing as I had money today and tomorrow I don't have money. No such thing. The reason that I think that there is no money because I created some negative activity, and therefore I created a curtain. But there is no disappearance, because disappearance means what? Fragmentation. Is there fragmentation in this world? No. What are you talking about? I can't hold the cube of sugar in my hand. Yeah, because of whatever our activities may have been that created curtains in our life, created separation, created that my eye and my taste buds have become separated. But if my consciousness, and I have learned today that this idea of separation, and separation is not a fact. That's why we say it's an illusion. Why do we say it's an illusion? Because there's a curtain that doesn't let me see it. If I remove the curtain, I would see it all. The illusion. What we refer to illusion, an illusionary state, is when we create some form of negativity in our lives. We therefore create the curtain. And now that money is not there. The money is not there. Is the money there? It's like the quarter. Is the quarter there? Of course I know the quarter's there, but you don't see the quarter. Oh, but you don't see the quarter. This is very simple, but what is difficult? I say there's $1 billion right over here. Why don't you all come over and pick it up? Is it there or it's not there? It's not there. I'm telling you it's there. I'm telling you it's there. Well, if it's there, then why can't we come over and pick it up? Because in effect, the power of separation, the power of that curtain creates separation so that we are fully convinced that it's not there. But if we can begin to understand that chaos does not exist in this world. See what Moses did? Oh, well, of course, Moses can do that. The Torah is not coming to tell us a story about Moses' greatness, about how Moses can create miracles. Talk about us. Now, what do we need the story? You heard the story last year. How many times do you want to hear the same story over and over and over again? Each time it's giving us, when we hear the scroll read on Shabbat, that's the power. That power of removal of the curtain. That we are told in this week's Parsha that man has the opportunity, man has the ability to remove his curtains. Of things that seem to be distant, like the money is distant. It's not there. It's not there. I need money and I don't have it. The first consideration is that the money is there. Oh, you mean I'm going to convince myself about something that's not there? Now, do you see the tricky place? I'm telling you the money's there. But the first thing you have to do is say the money is there. Now, what's your difficulty? I'm telling you the money is there. Don't you see it? Does anybody have a problem with that? Everyone see the money? You don't want to be convinced that the money is there. That's the problem. But I don't see it there. Now, I'm not going to just hallucinate, right? And say it's there. No, we cannot remove the curtain unless we remove that negative activity that caused the curtain. So when we say someone had been wealthy and then he had financial reverses, does it mean the money was taken away from him? No. A curtain was placed on that money to the extent that he believes the money is not there. That's how powerful this curtain is. But Moses, whose consciousness turned away from that illusion, turned away from that illusion. That illusion did not have that effective consciousness. Therefore, God says, take the stick, turn it into, because it includes a snake, it includes everything. How do we know even today that it includes everything? What is 99% of a snake and what is 99% of a stick? The atoms. They're both the same. 99% separate something? If they both have the same, 99% of the same ingredient, you're telling me that the 1% makes a difference? Even logically, it shouldn't sound right. If I have a cup of water, I have 2 cups of water. 2 cups of water. And I add 1% of cream soda in one, 1% of strawberry in the other. And then I add 99% of strawberry. What will they both taste like? What will they both taste like? Strawberry. But this one has 1% of cream soda in it. 1% is going to overcome or overweigh the 99%. That's the same idea as when we try to imagine as things are separated. As a stick and a snake have nothing in common with each other. How did he create such a miracle? Because everything is inclusive of everything else. Says the Zohar, and Moses, and God tells Moses, tell your brother Aaron to take his staff, his stake. Shoel the Zohar asks, Ma atam shenifcha lozeh mata Aaron v'lo mata Moshe. Moses had a staff, and Aaron had a staff. And here God says, tell your brother Aaron to take his staff. And the Zohar asks, why was the stick of Aaron to be used and not the stick of Moses? Umeshir, Elozeh shel Moshe hu kadosh yoter. כי נחקק בו שם הקדוש בגן עדן העליון, ולא רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לטמא אותו באלו המתות של החתומים, שהיה צריך לבלוע אותם. If you remember, the next verse it says that Pharaoh called his wise people, his magicians, and what did they do? They took their staffs, the magicians, took their staff, threw it down, and you know what happened? They turned into snakes. So that wasn't the miracle only of Moses. It was a miracle that even the magicians of Egypt could perform the same feat. So it was no great miracle. In other words, these people understood the principle that everything is everything and everything is like everything and everything is part of everything. Their consciousness dictated that since this stick contains a snake, it contains an apple, it contains everything because it contains the 99% of everything else. It's that 1%. That 1% which we refer to in Kabbalah as illusionary. Why do we refer to it as illusionary? Is it not a factor? Is this
not a tablecloth that conceals the table? Is this not a factor? And the answer is yes or no. If I decide that there is no tablecloth, some of us would have to do what? Do this. Now there's only a table, no tablecloth, because I have control over this. Some, with their minds would say, there's no tablecloth. You mean there are times where we can look at a tablecloth and say it's not there, and it's not there? The answer is that happens to us even when we don't want it to happen to us. Even without our consciousness. I want to tie a package, and you've heard this in the classes. I want to tie a package, I have the string ready, and what happens? You run all around your home looking for the string, right? And you come back, and where is the string? Right there next to the package. Is that correct? Now here you didn't even have a conscience to say, string, you're not there. Is that right? There was no consciousness to say, string, you're not there. What happens? That string can disappear, even when we didn't even ask it to disappear. Now, what happens if we ask the string to disappear? Oh, you mean then it won't disappear? Listen to yourselves. Listen to the logic of Satan. Of course. Well, Satan, how do you explain that I'm tying the package, and the string is right there in front of me? And I run all around the place looking for the string, and I come back and there it is. How do you explain that? What does Satan do? He says, don't explain it. You might clarify things. Leave it alone. So when the Rabbi's going to tell you, listen, think the tablecloth is not there. Think the tablecloth, that's impossible. That's impossible, you see? That's impossible. It's only impossible because we are not convinced that we have the ability to take this tablecloth and turn it into a table. Does it have the same ingredient as a table? Exactly the same. Well, maybe not exactly. Only 99% of a table. Does this contain 99% of a table? Yes! So why isn't it a table? No, it's a tablecloth. That's the power of what we call the illusion. That's the power of Satan. That's why the parasha is called Vaera. To see. Because there are laws. When I understand that this tablecloth is also a table. It's not a cloth of a table. Yes, it's only concealing the table as long as my consciousness dictates. This is supported by science. They do not understand it. They do not understand it. How can we say that this tablecloth exists as long as I determine its existence? Remember, let's begin with that premise, if that influences you. This tablecloth, according to science, if you decide that it's not there, it's not there. Of course, did they ever convince themselves of it? Never. Why didn't they convince themselves? Because they don't understand the principle. They don't understand that this tablecloth and this table is not two independent structures. Just like the Zohar says, why did we use Aaron and not Moses? Why did we use his staff? But as we explained already, how did these miracles happen? How could the magic makers of Egypt perform the same feat? But there was one distinction. What was the distinction? Vayivra matei Aaron et matotam. Now listen carefully. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to tell you what the Zohar says verbally. Listen carefully. The magicians of Egypt threw their staff down, and it turned into snakes. Now we have the snake of Aaron. We have the snake of the Egyptians. The next 5 words says, Vayivra mate Aaron et matotam. And the stick of Aaron swallowed up the stick of the Egyptians. Isn't there something missing here? Everyone understand there's something missing? Where did the stick come from? Where did the stick come from? So we're asked that question. They both turned their sticks into snakes. It should have said, either the snakes turned back into the stick, and then the stick of Aaron swallowed up the stick of the Egyptians. It doesn't say that. It says they both thrust their staffs down and appeared snakes. And then immediately the stick of Aaron swallowed up the stick of the Egyptians. Huh? What happened here? Where are they? The reason, and here it seems, what does the Zohar say? Why? Remember he began off? That's the clue. That's the clue. The Zohar begins off by saying, why didn't we use Aaron's? Why did we use Aaron's? Why didn't they use Moses? You know why? Because he says it was Yoter Kadosh. If you read that Zohar, Moses' stick was holier. Why? Because, and it's incomprehensible, Ki nechkak bo, in the stick of Moses was inscribed the holy name in Gan Eden, upper Gan Eden. What does that mean? What does that mean? It's too holy, and it said, "V'lo rasa HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'tamei oto be'elu matot shalach atum." So he didn't want the staff of Moses, which was so holy, to come in contact with the staff of the Egyptians. What would happen? You mean, if the stick of Moses swallowed up the stick of the Egyptians, this would become tamei, become unholy. What are you talking about? Sticks become holy, sticks become unholy. What is this all talking about? But what he's telling us is the stick of Moses was at a level, he couldn't turn it into a snake. Do you know why? Because when can you have money and then you lose money? In which world is that? Only in the world of illusion. In Moses' world, there was a stick and there was a snake. They were there, both present at the same time. There was no such thing as a stick. There was no such thing as a snake. The 99% was so evident in both that they were both unified as one. This feat could not be performed, says the Zohar, with the stick of Moses. You wouldn't see magic tricks. You wouldn't see when the magician has a scarf in his hand with the egg. Gone. Right? Gone. Before you saw it, and now you don't. This doesn't exist. That's illusion, isn't it? You know it's not God. It's somewhere, but, here, there, wherever. But we know it's not God. That's called a trick. Moses' staff, there was no such thing as it's here and it's not here. It's ever present. The concept of snake and stick didn't exist in the staff of Moses. It is in our imagination as we see this magician make a scarf and the egg disappear. Did it really disappear? We're all smart enough to know that maybe his hand is quicker than my eye, but it didn't disappear. Why are you so convinced? Why are you so convinced? And when I tell you that there is under this tablecloth all the money you had before, all of it, is under this tablecloth. Do you believe me? No. Why don't you believe me? Why don't you believe me? Because you don't believe it. Why don't you believe it? Because Satan has done such a great number on us that we feel the incapability of creating miracles. What we refer to as miracles. It is because this has all been embedded in this imagination. That's why we can learn all of these things in Kabbalah. All of these things. All of these things. But until we begin to take this idea of what we refer to in the classes, illusions and the world of illusion and the world of reality, Eitz HaChaim, until we begin to make use of that. Well, what will people say if I say, there's $1 million under this tablecloth? What will my friends say? Well, don't tell your friends. I mean, if that's what you're worried about, what they'll think about you, don't tell them. Keep it to yourself. But before you begin to have that consciousness, no, not there. Right? Do you know why there's nothing there? Says the Zohar. Because you know there's nothing there. You know there's nothing there. If you thought there was something, not if you thought. If you knew there was something there, it'll be there. Oh, okay, I know it's there. Oh, no, it's not there. Well, wait a second, stupid. Maybe it's spread out. It's not in coins. You can't feel it. So immediately you thought it wasn't there, right? That's what happened over here. To tell us that this idea of snake stick, it's the stick swallowed up. When it says that they threw it down and created a miracle of a snake, and they did the same thing, that was not a miracle. Because that consciousness of Egypt at that time was there as to where we're hoping to, but there was one difference. One difference. Their stick had the power of negativity, the power of illusion. The reason his swallowed up because Aaron was coming from another space. He was coming from the space of this world, but with the ability to swallow up the illusion. Egypt was illusion. Egypt was illusion. When I say illusion, they were talking about the curtain. They knew there was a curtain. They wanted the power of the curtain to remain. That was the power of Egypt. But along came Aaron, who knew there is no such thing as a curtain, swallowed it up. Because the power to remove illusion is more powerful than the power to retain and maintain illusion. That's why it says it went right into the end result. Why does it tell us the power and the ability of removal problem, isn't it? Oh, then you learn here in Kabbalah, trying to heighten your awareness. Well, listen, don't you understand? There's such a thing as called energy force, potential. Oh, we got a word, potential. Even that's a confusing word. What do you mean potential? What's potential mean? What does it mean? This little seed has an apple. Does it have the full apple in the seed? Yes or no? What's the answer? Yes or no? The answer is of course. Or not where did it come from? Where's the nutrients in these seeds? Where's the water? Where's the earth? You understand? All that is part of the confusion. Just the opposite. We can't escape it. We almost can't escape it. Even your question, right? And I was going to say, you're right. We need the nutrients. We need Mother Earth. You got to water if there was no rain. No. I mean, it's in the seed already. What do you need all these things? If you need all these things, how could it be in the seed? Is that correct or not? Yes or no? It's not that simple, right? Maybe we don't need nutrients. Maybe we don't need the rain. Maybe the rain was there already. Maybe the nutrients were there already. I don't see it. This is the consciousness we're coming to. This is the consciousness we're coming to.
And therefore, nature is the biggest illusion.
Nature is the biggest illusion. And you know why science used to say, well, how do these things happen? There's a force called nature. You're right. That's the force of illusion. To convince us that it's a force of nature, we don't know what that force is. They're still looking for it. And we even explained the force of nature in the Talmud Esesfirot. That force still is there, didn't it? However, but it's illusion. Illusion. Whatever you come to believe without a doubt, and I'm not saying that's easy, I'm not saying that many of us may never come to it. Many of us may never come to it. Do you know why we won't come to it? Give you an example. Give you a slight example. And I don't want you to take the example because the problem with an illustration is now you think that's it. So an illustration is now going to conceal a little. More revelation, more conceal. In this court case I was talking about, the decision came down contrary to what I knew the decision should be. Contrary. There it is. So the two people involved called me and said, Rav, decision was handed down today. I want to go into why I felt this way. I said, if Moses came down and told me that the decision came down today, I will not believe him. Those are the words that came out of my mouth. Those were the words that came out of my mouth. That Moses... What is the Rav talking about? Moses came down and told him, you won't believe it. You've got so far astray. Moshe Rabbeinu will come and tell me in front of me and say, I knew that Satan will tell me that Moses is there, but Moses is really not there. And 4 weeks later, there's total confusion in that court, and still nobody knows, including the judge, if the decision has been handed down.
Lecture. You know, I'm not sure how much of that was comprehensible to you, but even if you didn't understand the majority of what the Rav was saying, hopefully your consciousness or your mind was stretched, because it is important to stretch your consciousness to go higher. These are the things that you will learn on Kabbalah for Jamaicans, because this wisdom is a very high wisdom, and you will hear things that you will normally not hear. But if you want to get to a place of existence that is not normal, who wants to be normal? I want to be extraordinary. And that is why I went to Dubai to that Future Human conference of Mind Valley, because I want to be able to personally transform and to become my best self. I want to stretch myself. And so it is with this wisdom. So thank you for listening. Remember, we are here every Tuesday and Wednesday night. We're actually going to be changing our times. shortly we're going to be broadcasting a bit earlier. And that will be announced soon. So, again, the number here in the studio is country code +1 516-965-5700. Country code +1 516-965-5700. And we hope to see you next week. Until then, this is Joshua signing off.
I've lifted mine eyes and I've seen the sign of the times that Marcus prophesied them not in long time. Oh Lord, the ignorance of our people has held us captives of our own mind. Can't you see